Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Yeah, alright, so I'm not muted. There may be a little bit of background noise. My vacuum is running. Should be done in a few minutes. Just can't find the bedrooms. It keeps bashing into my chair.
A lot of you out there are throwing your money away.
Thank you very much, El Diablo. Yeah, that's a great start for the show. There is a bunch of stuff to talk about today. ReaSpaghetti is a new Reaper script for making Reaper scripts, and it's super fun, very cool. It's a visual scripter where you just connect these different blocks with wires. It's great. Also on my list, in my newsletter, I share a bundle of various Reaper assets, from metronome samples to track templates and things like that. Today, I'd like to go through that and see what's still useful, what needs to be updated, what's missing. I know that there's some recent things that didn't make it into that, so today might be a good day to do that, but it might be a little bit boring. We'll see how that goes. Also this week, I got Boz Digital's new reverb plugin, ReCoil. It's a spring reverb. Very great UI, great concept, very fun. We may take a look at that, but probably ReaSpaghetti is what we'll focus on today. Turbo Knight's here, Danny Gable's here, Davi is here, Jerome's here, Wenglish 1968 is here, Pat Nichols here, and Jason might be here still, but he is on his way to NAMM today. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna clean up a little bit. There's a couple odds and ends that didn't get cleaned up after the last video. I made the video that posted this morning just yesterday afternoon. So, yeah, there's a bit of mess here this week. It's not even all stuff that I used. I got this light. It's like $100 on Amazon. And this was just sort of a fill light for the intro shots. But it's pretty cool, like RGB, white and yellow, like daylight or tungsten balanced. Pretty decent. I wish it had better mounting options. It only has a ⅛20 on the bottom, but it charges with USB-C, and it has an output on it as well. So it could actually be used as a battery bank, so emergency charge your phone sort of thing. But pretty decent light for the price, I would say. I don't really have a home for that one yet. Oh yeah, and if you have seen the video this morning, you probably noticed that I was using a different mic. This is the Electro Voice 635A. I forgot how it sounds. It wasn't that bad. A couple other things from this week. I was actually doing a sampling session for a metal box, which, yeah, it's just got this great sound. It's got a squeaky hinge, real chunky mechanism. I mounted a contact mic in there, and I mic'd it up with what's my other mic? The K67X from Roswell Audio. I got some good sounds, lots of stuff to edit, but I might actually start over, and I think I want some different options for mics. I don't know. But I've got another metal box that I need to sample. Listen to that. So, yeah, a couple metal boxes. I might try to get a third and make it like a more proper set. So I did kind of a test sample recording, got some good sounds. I don't know if I can actually open that session without breaking the stream, because it'll want to change the sample rate. K67 is here at the top. So that's the latch opening and closing. And here's the contact mic. And together, I think they're pretty chunky. And then I've got some like scraping here. That's a pocket knife. And let me grab this section and slow that down by 4x. Sounds much bigger than it is. It's promising results. I don't know if I got the best signal to noise ratio, the best performances that I could get. I also did a version of some of these with a towel inside. So let's see. I think those are still muffled and empty again. Just trying to think of like how these can be used for different things. Like people may not use them specifically for a metal box, but just sort of layered impacts and things. And or if they do have it as a box on screen, it's going to be like probably have something in it. So a muffled sound is probably useful as well. I think the recording part of it is generally the easy part, unless you realize that you don't have enough coverage of all the different sounds. And if you clean everything up for the day, and then realize there's a sound you're missing, you're screwed. May as well start over. And then it's just like getting organized, sorting things into the named sections of the project, balancing out all the levels so it's consistent, noise reduction, EQ possibly, sort of pre-mixing. We are listening to this through a little bit of an effects chain, so re-EQ. Actually, it was just to like monitor some noise I was getting. So one of the reasons I wanted to redo it was the contact mic had a lot of like hum. I'll just loop this section here. So I had this constant hum. It's a contact mic, which is unbalanced piezo transducer. That goes into a DI box. The ferrite transformer DI box, it's got a Cinemag transformer. This is from DIY recording equipment. I actually had to alligator clip a connection from me to the box to ground it. And I don't know why that was necessary, but it was pretty noisy. And I should actually try it directly into a preamp instead of going through the DI box. Or maybe I should try a different DI box, something. But it's one of those things that just a little uncertain of if I got the best start for this. Relimit, doing -1, -6 threshold. It's really just to push down some of these peaks. Hardly doing anything, really. I had recomp on here as well. I don't remember why. I'll just bypass the whole chain. So peaks, but yeah. I just want them to be sort of beefy without being overly sort of processed. Now, let's do question time. El Diablo's question, how to glue video and audio down while preserving video and audio. Reaper always seems to convert it to audio only on glue. I want to be able to stretch the video and audio as I work on the audio. In general, best practice with Reaper video is to separate the audio first. So you've got your video clip with no audio and the audio as its own separate WAV file. You don't want to work with the lossy audio that's embedded into the video. Often it's out of sync slightly, or it may appear out of sync. And the other issue is that the waveforms aren't accurate to what a wave version of it would be. All right, so from my project that published today, I've got a bunch of different recordings. So I've got my MKV file from out of OBS, but that could be out of whatever, your phone or whatever. So I've got the video file. I'll just put the video file there. Don't really want to copy it, but so once you got it imported, you're going to right click, go to source properties, and just change this to ignore audio. And then you're going to grab your audio version of it, which could be a WAV or really just any file. And so here's the actual content where these things are, where there's actual content in here. So I will group those, right click, group items. And now I can make edits to these if I have grouping on. Make edits to these, and I can stretch them and they'll move together, but this audio is on its own track. It has its own effects chain. Video effects aren't going to affect the audio. Audio is not going to affect the video. It's much more flexible. You can do things like J cuts and L cuts, more organized, more flexible, and it should actually be better performance as well. Do you need to glue is the other thing. So I don't think you necessarily need to glue in most cases. But let's say you did something and you wanted it as a destructive edit, sort of, or a new file. You can't use the glue function, which works with WAV files. To do video, you actually have to render out a video. And you want to choose one of the lossless options or as close to lossless as you can get, high bit rate, higher than the original bit rate, if possible, to preserve that data. Oh yeah, and one other thing I will show you here. Let's take another way to actually get your audio out of the video file. So here's a video file. It's got audio and video layers, and I'm going to copy it down to the next track. And this one I will glue. Glue will turn it into a WAV file. So top is audio, top is video with an embedded audio. Bottom is audio only. Take this, source properties, ignore audio. Group the two together, and now you're good to go. So you can use that glue function to create your initial WAV version of it. If you have a bunch of files, you can do it from the batch converter. Drop in all your video files and create WAV versions of them. Or I have a drag and drop tool that I just drag my MKV into these toolbar icons, which runs an FFmpeg script. So lots of ways to do it, but yeah, I would avoid working on the embedded audio if at all possible. The video released this morning reminded me of an old school reporter style. Fun. The intro and outro was definitely inspired by a video I saw recently, which was sort of on a comedy channel, I guess. I don't know if you saw this going around. Like, this has quite a lot of views, 300,000 views. It's Mac DeMarco hosting it. It's very weird. That's all I can say. I could probably play a little bit of it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You're watching Advanced Studio Recording Techniques. I'm your host, Mac. repurposing an acoustic space underneath the home. On today's episode of Advanced Studio Recording Techniques, we'll be learning how to repurpose an unused room beneath a house for use as an echo or reverb chamber in our studio. Any acoustic space can be transformed in a few.
I'll stop it there. I found it pretty entertaining. It's a little slow. There's no explanation of the Vaseline on his face at all, but I think it's definitely worth a watch. I dig the style for sure. And I had that microphone, so I was like, okay, I got to do at least like 1% of that as inspiration. And if it wasn't for this video, watching that, I think 2 days ago, I probably wouldn't have made a video yesterday at all. Please tell me you've seen that one. Do I use any sort of digital asset management software to organize sample libraries, or just good file storage hygiene in folders and things? Good question. I don't use anything separate. I have a Soundly account, but I don't currently subscribe to it. I think for my purposes, the Media Explorer databases is all I need. So I've definitely made videos on this before, but this is how I manage my sound libraries. There are several databases that I have. One for like drums and percussion, music loops, Foley sounds, my synth drum pack. So I have some of my own sound libraries that I want to use frequently saved as databases. If you don't know, databases are like folders, but they're taking like links to assets from multiple folders to organize your sound files. It used to be that this was the only way to see metadata, but now like any view or Reaper's Media Explorer will show description and WAV file tags and things. It's very well integrated. You can read and write metadata super fast to search in databases compared to regular file explorer searching. In terms of what's actually on my drive, I do a little bit of organization here. I'm using the built-in tagging system on the Mac. So just a couple different layers. So my blue ones are more like general sound effects, film production, podcasting, audio drama sort of things are generally there. Ambiances as well. Orange is my music sound libraries like Contact Instruments, Stephen Slate drums, Excellent Audio. Red is my own stuff and need to edit folder. Yellow is other musical one-shots and loops and things like that. So stuff that comes from various locations, but is not specifically an instrument. So I've got stuff from That Sound, Woodshed Audio, Weiss drums, Loop Cloud libraries there. So that's how I've got that stuff sorted. Let's take a folder that's curated by me, the general sound effects folder. I've got machines, water, Foley, interact, feet, animals, FUTs. These are kind of like unsorted random sounds that either I downloaded. I think some of here are things that I made myself. I don't access this folder all that much. If I download something, I'll put it in here. But most of the time, I'm only looking at these sound files through either the Foley and sound effects database in Reaper or the full sample library folder. Yeah, Reaper's Media Explorer has gotten very good to the point where I don't think you really need the other tools like Soundly or what's that? SoundMiner, Basshead. There's a few others. I feel like you can do a lot of stuff in here now. My only complaint about it is something that's fixed but just not released yet. Okay, Diego Delgado drums. If I want to send several instruments to a reverb, how would you modify the delay, pre-delay of the tracks? Let's say this is our source. We've got a track for delay, a track for reverb, we're going to route our source track to the reverb track, or to the delay track. And then in here, we're going to not send to the master on the delay track. And we'll send the delay track to the reverb track at 100% wet. Now on here, let's do redelay, set it to 100% wet. I don't know, let's do 35 milliseconds pre-delay. No feedback or anything like that, just a basic delay. And then on here, we'll put in some sort of reverb. I need something that is, let's do the kilohertz reverb. Then you have the choice of, let's say, source 2. Let's say source 1 needs to go to a different pre-delay. So you've got your far stuff, and then you've got your near stuff, and maybe your near stuff only goes to the reverb. It doesn't go through pre-delay first. Or maybe I said that backwards. But yeah, you have the choice of going through a pre-delay track before going into the reverb, or really just set up a couple tracks for reverb. They don't take up that much CPU anymore, and just have a couple different pre-delay levels. I usually don't think about pre-delay all that much, but what I would do is usually have like a short, medium, long reverb built into my template, which then have their own pre-delays and things. Good question. To be honest, I probably wouldn't worry about the pre-delay all that much. Second part, can I use the media offset play option in every send bus in Reaper to add that pre-delay? No, I don't think it would, especially not on a live track. I think you need to do it either with a delay track or some sort of complex routing through different pins in the mixer. So let's say we move redelay here. We change this to a 4-channel track, and we set this up so that so like you send into channel 3 and 4 of this track. Actually, hang on. I don't want to pass it through. We want to send that to 1 and 2. That makes sense? So if we send into channels 3 and 4 on this track, it goes through this reverb. But if we send through channels 1 and 2, it just passes on to the reverb. So delay on 3 and 4, which passes on to the reverb on channels 1 and 2. Otherwise, it just passes through to 1 and 2. Do need to make sure that pass through unmapped channels is there. I guess there's 2 ways to do it, but the media offset is only for playback of media. Different purpose. You know, an action to select next visible track in MCP, keeping current selection. The select next visible track, keeping current selection, is always bases off the TCP. I'm sure it's possible, but yeah, visibility is for actions is usually tied to the TCP. I don't immediately have a solution, but I'm sure that it's possible with scripting. Is there a way to disable selecting multiple tracks in the mixer when holding shift? When I try to use shift click to bypass effects, I accidentally select a bunch of tracks. I don't find that happens. Oh, actually, that might be a setting. Mouse click on volume pan faders and track buttons changes track selection. It might be this one. Yeah, preferences, editing behavior, mouse. It might be that one. I think that might default to on. If that's not it, I'm not sure. Let's get into the main event. I just want to check for updates here. And while we're doing that, let's go over to, oh God. We're going to go to the ReaSpaghetti visual scripter forum post. So for like a moment, this was originally called ReLego. It was a ReaSpaghetti. So this is made by Sexton from Croatia, a visual code environment. Rather than editing code within Reaper's IDE, which is just like a terminal sort of environment, ReaSpaghetti is node-based, which is a really interesting way to do it. So this came out 2 days ago, I think. I tried it yesterday with the intention of just kind of figuring out the basics to get prepared for today. And I had a ton of fun. The main stuff you need to know is this area is where you put in your code. You can right drag to move around this grid. There is a zoom control here at the top. Well, I think it's a control. You can center your view. I'm using Alt mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And then there's the run button, which will run your code. On the sidebar here, we've got functions, nodes, variables, and the API. There's a search bar here. You can also right click and then search. Yeah, so there's a few things, a few basic kind of nodes that you can put in here, but also you can type in any API function. So like get media item, and that puts that in. And then all of the relevant variables or whatever it spits out or whatever it needs is going to be available there. So you connect the green dots, nodes, ports on it, pins, I think he calls them, to make the connection. So when I press run, it gets media item, and then it stops. I can feed it a function to choose the project. By default, it's just going to get the built-in project. And for media item ID, I can get that from something else, from like a loop if there's a bunch of selected items. And then what it spits out is one specific media item. There's also things like math. So math operations. Yesterday, this is alpha. This just came out 2 days ago. He's already made a few changes. I asked a bunch of dumb beginner questions yesterday. So like this math operations tool is, it was called math float yesterday, and I was super confused by it, and he made it easier. So once something is highlighted by just clicking on it, you can hit the delete key and you can remove that. Let's get I'm just going to grab a random one. So let's say we've got a connection here. If we want to delete that, it's an alt click, and you can see that line turns red. We can feed in integers. We can feed in strings. We can feed in true or false. If it gets complicated, you can put in wireless routing nodes. So, right, so I can get send from there to receive, to receive there rather than straight to it. Doesn't make sense in something as simple as this one, but in complicated things, you definitely notice that. I'm going to go to open, and here's one I made yesterday. And this is just basic. It doesn't do a lot, but we'll work through here. This is kind of like my basic script just to learn what's happening. So start, count project markers. How many project markers are in the project? It's going to return a value which feeds into the math. I'm going to add 1 using this integer. I don't have to use this one. I could just put a 1 here. You can double click, type in, let's say 2. So each time I add a mark or create a marker, it's going to increase by the marker value, the ID number of the marker by 2. Where it goes is using the cursor position. So get cursor position API function, it outputs a number. And that's going to feed into the add project marker node, which you don't have to fill in all of the things, but some of them are mandatory. Position is mandatory, and the name, I think, was mandatory. Want ID isn't mandatory, but it's going to, like, this function, and this function are also that it doesn't always put in the same marker number. Let's run this. So it counted the number of markers, which was 1 before. We can see here X1. I'm going to add 2. We just need to convert from float to integer to get into the ID number. And that is going to output marker 3, and that's what we see here, marker 3. Now, because this is adding 2, the next time we run this, it should be marker 5, but I don't know. 2 markers, but no, it did do it right. Marker 2 plus 2. It's an interesting way to visualize the code. It's maybe less abstract than you know, looking at it like this. This is a lot to understand. Just straight text, no idea what's required of each API function. But he's done a ton of work getting like everything in here. I have no idea how long he actually worked on this, but it's a ton of work for sure. Let's open up example. So I don't know if this runs on Mac. I think he said it didn't run on Mac. So there's a bunch of different script things. I don't know where to play it. Okay, well, I'll just go to the thing here. I don't know how to actually run it, but it's he basically made a game engine. So it's it's a pretty nuts, powerful thing, and it's also brand new. So like, if you want to try it, it's free right now. I don't know if he's gonna make it paid or anything, but definitely worth supporting and trying out if you are interested. Let's see if I can load a different thing. Toggle mute tracks. Let's see if I can make sense of this. Count the tracks. Here's a loop. So for each, we're going to increment by 1. And then it's going to get the track, get the media track, set it to mute. And then we're going to compare float math. It does it equals 0 if else. Set a new track. I don't fully understand this one. What it's supposed to do is mute a track when we run it. Yeah, so if I have one track muted and I select a different track, it's gonna toggle the muting. And then export to action, deferred script, no. Added ReaSpaghetti standalone toggle mute tracks .renodes to action list. Okay. And here's that standalone action as a Lua file, which still works as it should under edit. Yeah, so it's basically loading in that file within here in the background. So if I close the script, check there's no other script running. But yeah, this still works. Pretty damn cool. Crucial, you're asking, does it generate a script file? Yes, it can. I hadn't tried it till just now. And it didn't yesterday. The game engine thing is pretty cool. So, oh yeah, it'll check for errors, wireless nodes, saving, defer scripts. All the Lua functions are there, if you know what they are. But I asked a bunch of dumb questions yesterday, and he was very, very helpful, quickly answering my questions and refining things to be more noob friendly. Yeah, so they just updated at 10 o'clock today. Fixed renaming functions, fixed crash when saving, group node per node comment. So I think I saw that when I add in here, this I button lets me I can add in a label. Scenes are just loops you can make on a grid, separate from timeline, but also using same tracks and items. Cold coffee is the second best kind of coffee. It's got to be brewed to be drank cold. So same recipe, but cold water and brewed for 4 hours instead of 6 minutes, and with hot water. And yeah, big difference. How about something that can change the names quickly? Let's do I know I need a string. I'll get media name, source file name, maybe. Copies the media source file name to a name buffer. No, that's not it. Media info. Media item info value, parameter name. Don't know the names. Nice. Okay, so he put the help stuff in there. No, this one doesn't have name. Okay, so get media. Actually, do we need to take set media? I think this is the one. Get set media item string. Although we need to get we need a loop. Loop, we need a selected, count selected media items. Okay, so now we'll do that, and then we'll loop here, get set media item info string. Is that right? No, we didn't get the item yet. Okay, so that runs there. This runs there. How do you render a bunch of clip items without changing the audio to all one clip? I need to keep all the separate clips separate. So let's say it's similar to this where I've got 3 items. You can render, set this to selected media items. And then, yeah, video, something like that. That should do it. Set new value to param name D, what is it? Nope, that's not it. Take set take. Nope. Get set. All right, so we're selecting the item, selecting the take, and then we're going to set the take to the name, I don't know, P name, is that right? P name. Oh, let's run that in there. And then set this to garbage. Garbo. Okay, so I think if I've got this right, at start it's going to select or count how many items are there. For each item, it's going to select an item, get the take, the first take from it, and set the name to Garbo. We'll see if that works. 3 items selected, running, missing inputs track. Okay. Or is that take? Media take. I forgot to connect it. So there's an example of how the error system works, which is pretty good. Didn't seem to set the item. Let's go to item properties. The take name is still source. I'm probably just using the wrong function here. Let's do it with one selected. No. Okay. Set media item, take info. I wonder if I am doing that wrong. Oh, it's probably because it's... Could be that. Nope. Any ideas? Oh, I'm not counting the... I didn't do the count. Okay, well, that didn't help. I don't know how I got this one to change, but not the others. I'm still a scripting noob. Plug integer into end from the first node. Ah, yeah. I think I was telling it to stop at the end. Or not telling it to stop? I don't know. Start at the last one? I don't know. Missing take. So, okay. So it's... I don't know. It works with one, or it doesn't give an error when there's one selected, but when there's two selected, it breaks. And I don't know. Okay, we'll just try a new one. Why not? I was doing things like resizing items. Set media item length. And this is in seconds. So I need to get media item. And then it was... can't remember if there was something in between. Let's set this to 9 seconds and refresh the UI. So in this case, only the first one changed sizes. So need a for loop. I had this working yesterday. I just didn't save it. Or I almost had it working. I don't remember. Nope, that just did the first one. Oh, I got a count. That's why. Count, media items. Wait, is this... That's in the entire project, isn't it? Selected media items. Yeah. Okay, and then this is going to output... Is that right? No. Oh, you know what? I always forget that if I connect the wrong thing, it's going to keep the old value. So I bet that's what it was. I had like increment set wrong. Yeah, this is a bit like modular synths, but for scripting. I search for that tool and get spaghetti recipes. Hang on. I'll link to it. Okay, so this one worked. So I was able to set the item length. Let's also, oh yeah, and then the other issue is that some of these take takes, not items. So how do I connect this so that I can change the length first. No, we need to get the take. Get active take. Oh, maybe that's the one I should have used. Item. Connect. Okay, they can both connect. That's cool. And then from there we've got take. Give it power. Okay, let's change the size of these so they're big again. We'll hit run. And did I figure this one out? No, it still says source for the name. Okay. Set new value. Maybe that was it. No. John, this is from Sexon, and I just put the link in the chat there. It's called ReaSpaghetti. I haven't had a chance to check out Daniel's scripts yet. This one caught my attention. It's yeah, it's got me fascinated this week. But yeah, I just can't figure it out. Oh, this first one got it, but not the second one. Oh, maybe I did get it. I think I got it. So these are now, all three of these are now named Garbo. And they all resized at the same time. What else can we do arbitrarily with these items? Let's set the, can I set the take volume? Nope. So, set media item info value, deval. Devalue, we'll set this to 0.5, I guess. Okay, so I need to feed this, interesting. I can connect them like, wait, no, I can't connect them like that. No. Okay, I'll just put this in here. It's really nice to be able to make room for code blocks by just like dragging things around instead of like copy and paste. Okay, so this can still get the item from here. And so I'm going to set the volume to 50%. So let's give this a new name again. Please tell me if things are off screen or anything like that. I'm just randomly like picking a parameter to adjust here. All right, so velocity got set to 50%. It's called Garbo instead of new name for some reason. Oh, and I know exactly why, because this section was not connected to power. Let's undo. And we'll run this again. Now that's called new name. It's got a value, the velocity of 50%, and it's set to 9 seconds. Cool. Super basic stuff. I mean, you could do all this from media and properties, but maybe there's a particular workflow that needs like specific settings like that. If I was thinking of this as a more real task, I probably wouldn't set the volume to 50%, but I might Let's get rid of changing the length. Let's demute, I think it's called. Be mute. And we'll set this to bad. Everything's wired up, I think. So if these are bad items, I can call them bad and mute them. That's something that's maybe useful if I was like editing sound effects or something. I don't want to keep in stuff, but I want like a keyboard shortcut to basically mute it. Once you get used to this, I think you can get pretty quick with it without having, maybe if you're a visual learner especially, it'd be easier than trying to do it through code. But once it's built, you could always export it to an action, which is not a deferred script. And I think I broke it. Yeah, I broke it. I think it's pretty interesting. We're only in the first week of public development of this. And I've seen lots of updates already. 4 or 5 updates, I think. You need the ReaIMG UI. That should be done through Repack, I think. This one. I think that's what it's called. But something like that. It's what you see here. The whole visual environment here. Let's move on. Let's do something else for a bit. Okay. So I'll load that. Go to edit. And I will turn off the effects here. That's still got effects. Okay, so they've got some effects kind of built in there, but mostly flat. And export. It's going to render a wave. I want to play around with this new reverb from Boz Digital. However, I need to install the update. One sec. So let's go to this camera. Hey, it's still running. Hello. This is not a sponsored thing. I bought it. It's actually on sale right now. I do recommend it. Just notice those massive, interesting headphones. I did a review of them. They are the Verum Audio Verum 1. They are electrostatic, or no, not electrostatic. What's the word? I'll have to watch my own video, but a different kind of headphone. That's why they're so big and heavy and stuff. But they sound nice. I didn't show you this. ReCoil, it's on sale for $19 until the 28th, I think. 1-2 more weeks. It's a spring reverb modeling a bunch of different springs, giving you the options of 1, 2, or 3 springs. 1 spring is mono, 2 springs is stereo, 3 springs is a little extra mono. There's a width control, pre-delay, wet and dry control separately, a bunch of different things built in, even like toy, like those microphone spring things, and built-in tilt EQ and stuff. It's very fun. It's really cool. I just need to install this update. Another thing I did this week was clear all the gunk off of my H5. We'll see how long that lasts, but it was to the point where it was like pulling hair out. Like if you touched it, it was just so sticky and nasty. Zoom has put this like soft touch rubberized coating on their stuff for a while, and it just gets this gross sticky mess in about 3 years, and this one is 5 years now. So I used a microfiber cloth and just scrubbed it, basically. The cloth gets stuck to it, and then it finally rips it out, and then just keep scrubbing until it's sort of like polished plastic. I think you can still see it's kind of sticky under the metal bar there. But the rest is like kind of shiny plastic now. The BeatStep Pro is doing the same thing. Oh, I wanted to actually buy a BeatStep, so maybe I won't now. The other thing I had was the Cuneo from Keith McMillan. That was disgusting after a while. Real sticky, didn't want to touch it. Just the knobs. Yeah, if they're sticky, it's gonna be not fun to play with. So I would scrub that off. I tried soap. I tried rubbing alcohol. I think I tried lighter fluid. The only thing that actually worked was just like hard scrubbing on it. It's like the plastic deteriorating though at the same time. Like it may just never improve. I'm a fan of Boz Digital plugins. I think he was a guest on my podcast. But I've known him online since before he made plugins. Just in a forum I was in. Yeah, great ideas, really cool stuff. Recommend his stuff highly. All right, so let's play with ReCoil with the basic settings. Gonna increase the predelay a bit. And the width. I like the width about 60%. If I switch it to 1, it's mono, just a single spring. And you can do some fun stuff with the length, the tension, decay, and boing effects. That's pretty fun. And then at the bottom, there's a high pass filter. A mid, like cut or boost. Not sure what the frequency's at. And then the bright control is a tilt EQ. So you actually get a bass boost in the negative position. And then finally a low pass filter. But pretty a gentle one. Springs are so, like, it's such a weird sound. There's a bunch of different impulses and 3 algorithmic ones. And each one has long, medium, and short variations. So, yeah, super cool. Tons of presets, actually. It's fun. I'm going to turn on my synth. Connect that. I think that's on A.3. Okay, so modulation off, and do up there. And we'll just send that into ReCoil. And we'll make you 100% wet. Oh yeah, one of the impulse responses is actually those springy door stops, which is very cool. There's also these all together, it's like a mix down of all the different impulses. I should probably not have the drums on that at the same time, but so what do you think? Gonna buy this for $20? I think it's worth getting for sure. A very fun, weird, dirty, just fun to play with reverb. I think it can work well on a lot of different things, and it's not too serious. It's not too real sounding. Like, it's not a real space, and you don't. I love that they put in things like just random springs, like hardware store springs and slinkies. That's fun. Okay. It's fun. It's just fun. Straight up, it's fun. You should get it. I feel like we've probably covered everything on the list. Yeah, we were talking about the sticky stuff. Rubbing alcohol won't work. All that stuff just doesn't really work. It's not something that's added to the plastic. It's not something that got on it. It's just like the oils in the plastic are leaching out and it gets sticky. I thought it was dust. I thought it was fingerprints and stuff like that. But there's so many people that have the same issue with the H5, the H6. I don't know if the newer products are still using that sticky stuff. There's a lot of products, music tech products, that had that sort of sticky rubber feeling years ago. I wonder if the knobs on the Minilog are going to be like that. You can replace the knobs. That's probably worth doing. I think I've seen on eBay, there's like, you can get sets of knobs, replacement knobs for the same size and amount of them and stuff. Custom knobs, good thing to do. If you haven't seen the new video and you're here on the live stream, yeah, watch the video, or I don't know. I'm just going to play it because I want a washroom break and a snack, and this will give me 12 minutes to go do it. All right, who noticed the freeze frame at the end? I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, so all that's getting cut out of the video. There were a few things that I forgot to mention and should have probably. Okay, question time from the video. No cable on the mic is perfect for the vibe, by the way. There was a cable, but I think it probably just blended in with my shirt. There was definitely a cable, and that was the actual mic there. Used to use reinsert, but don't anymore. Just go direct to and from the hardware as a loop, or like mic preamp to the hardware other effect, and then into line input. I do have a mixer as well, and talked about that on the Home Recording Show podcast. Forgot what I was going to say. I'll get the mixer. Just a little Behringer Q802 USB. I only got this because it was like cheap and nearby. I happened to be at the pawn shop, and it's like, yeah, I could probably get a mixer and make use of that. And I did for a little while. I haven't integrated it into my setup since like August. But I plan on getting another synth and a drum machine pretty soon, like this month probably. And that might be useful again. I do have 4 more inputs on the Profire 2626 that I can use for that. Upgrading your interface, can only do mono or stereo some at the moment. A mixer is useful as another way of setting that sort of thing up. You mix down on the mixer. And if you want to keep mono sources, you pan them hard. Yeah, unless it's a multi-channel mixer interface, you really only get like 2 outs from it, or stereo. But you know, this little cheap thing, it has 6 line inputs. You could probably use the stereo aux return as an additional input, and then you just take the main out of that into a line input of your audio interface. As long as you stay around line level, it's very clean. There's lots of other mixers. Mackie makes some, and Yamaha makes some that are decent. You got a Mackie Pro FX 3, but got some quirks I am not happy with. A lot of the compact mixers have these compromises of like only certain channels have certain types of inputs, or only some have compression, only some have EQ. But often the problem I see is just the way that they're hooked up, or using them outside of their like operating range. Don't try to like output at 0 dB VU or dBFS, and you should be fine. If you're coming out of that at line level, which is like -18, then yeah, it should be nice and clean. I tested mine, and mine's like a dirty pawn shop, like 15 years old, filled with with dust and smoke and stuff, and like doing the loop back through it, it was clean, like couldn't tell. So and Behringer actually just made a new version of that, not the USB one, but the Xenix 802S, which just has slightly different IO, made for more for like streamers. Any questions about the video? There's a couple points that I wanted to bring up. The first thing was, once you're set up that way with the hardware effects, you do need to render your mix in real time, and that can be a kind of a deal breaker for some people. So like that's the major downside of it. Like it's great that you have hands-on control, all the other things I mentioned in the video, but you do need to actually render it down to audio at some point, or to digital, capture it with the computer. So you can record that to a track, setting the track to record output the way that I had it with the reamping trick that I showed in a video last year. Or you render your entire mix as the online render option. I'll show you what that looks like. So if you're doing a time selection or entire project, where it says full speed offline, you change that to online render. An online render just means like the audio engine is running, your audio interface is running, audio is running through in real time, and you print it through. You just print your mix as you hear it, versus faster than real time offline render. It just renders as fast as possible and doesn't use your audio hardware at all. One thing that maybe wasn't obvious was that each of the different hardware is set to different MIDI channels. I don't remember if I showed that. There was one part as I was recording it that messed up, and I talked about it, but I think that was cut out. But I'm sending over one cable, but there's two different MIDI channels. Each one is, Elise is on channel 2, the TC is on channel 3. So that's why like the presets don't change on both devices when I send one program change. If I didn't have them on separate channels, they would both change at the same time. The real-time processing, yeah, definitely you don't want to run through podcasts, 3-minute songs, that's cool. Or just processing tracks, setting it up so that you can record a synth through those hardware effects and then print it. Actually, some of the recordings of the music in that video were just messing around on the synth and then grabbing my global sampler output and dropping that in rather than actually recording. A few of the sounds were like that. There's a one sort of riser thing in there. I forgot that I made like a different intro, or not intro, but you know what I'm saying, I think. So we're just gonna focus on the music here in this section. I'm gonna turn off the ducking. Where is that? Okay, turning off ducking. No, it's still ducking. So this stuff, I just felt like doing it a different way this time. So the layers here, there's like a metal chain movement, I think. And what am I doing to that? It's sped up and just a fade in on that. And then I've got a designed sci-fi boom with some ReCoil EQ on there. So by itself. And with EQ and ReCoil. And this is a synth riser. And I think that was reversed. So here's the original sound played through the Minilog, sampled with the global sampler. And then I've got a cuckoo clock windup. And let's take the original. Let's go to stretch markers and so that's the original sound, and I changed it into this with a bit of disperser from kilohertz. So it speeds up. I think it works. What do you think? I might do a different sort of intro each time. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but most of the videos have a little different intro each time. And the weird music in the beginning was, again, kind of inspired by that advanced recording techniques video. You know what else is going on this week? NAMM. I just saw a couple of interesting things. SoundToys has a new plugin. It's not there. Okay, so let's go to computermusic.com, I think it was. Here's the mixers that I mentioned earlier. So it's like the mixer that I've got, not the USB version. Instead of compression, I don't know, it's smaller. They made it a little bit different. There's 8 line-ins. I see FX send, but no return. It's a little odd. There's no knob for controlling that. A little weird. But yeah, that's a new product, and they had just announced, while we were talking here, a couple new things that might be interesting, especially this one. So SoundToys has a new plugin called SuperPlate. We've seen Little Plate for years, right? I was always wondering when they're going to release Little Plate, or a big version of Little Plate. But yeah, now they have, or they're about to anyways. So it's got it's got 5 different modes of plate, and it looks like different amplification circuits that we can switch in as well. Decay time, pre-delay modulation, high and low pass filters, in and output, mix, very standard, full parametric EQ with 4 points, and that's separate from the high and low pass filters. A separate modulation, I guess, just for the EQ, maybe. Yeah, interesting. It's taken them quite a while. It's surprising how slow SoundToys moves compared to a company like Isotope, which is like new version every year almost. SoundToys Effect Racked users get it for $59. Individually $149. Part of the SoundToys 5.4 bundle for $4.99. So we'll see what my price actually is for that. Little Plate is a plugin I use quite a lot. Donner D1 is a simplified drum machine designed for first-time beat makers. A lot of people did a view of the B1 analog bass sequencer, which was like kind of like just fine, but not quite a 303, and it had some weird annoying things. I imagine that this is going to be another thing quite similar. There's no link to the actual company website or anything, but yeah, it's going to be kind of all right, but probably not something you're going to keep forever. Sort of drum machine. This is interesting. Panorama, or Nektar, has a new control surface with 16 knobs. No, not 16 knobs, 12 knobs, a couple buttons, a transport control, and a single fader. Yeah, nothing on their site yet, I don't think. Always happy to see like new control surface devices. This Effectrix plugin from Sugar Bytes is very good. It's pretty similar to when we covered on a live stream, which was SEQS by Psych. And it's a free plugin for Reaper only. SSL bought Harrison. Interesting. I wonder what that will mean for Mixbus users. Or maybe nothing changes at all. Slate Digital was bought up months ago? Oh, I didn't know that. IK Multimedia has the Axe I-1, a new version of their Axe I/O audio interface. 2 expression pedal or switches as ports on there, which is interesting to see. Definitely like guitar focused kind of thing. Stereo out on 1/4 inch. We've got an amp out. Pretty cool. So built-in reamper. Headphone jack. Combo mic high-Z input. No line inputs, looks like. Somewhat limited, but also makes sense. You're going to be using this with Amplitube or other things, and maybe running through a real amp as well. Oh, I guess that's probably perfect for modeling with Tonex. I didn't even think about that. $129 is the price on this one. That seems very fair. Cool. I'd like to check one of those out. Mixbus was getting some Bitwig style functions. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't really look at other DAWs other than Reaper. So, wrong person to ask about that. People were asking me about Studio One features recently, but I don't have any idea. Yeah, UVI was bought by FL Studio. Mix Check Studio identifying mixing and mastering issues. An intuitive web application capable of identifying typical mixing and mastering issues such as clipping, phase issues, monocompatibility, stereo field, appropriate loudness levels, as well as assessing the tonal characteristics for different genres. It's a web app. You can try it for free. Is Reaper creating a Dolby Atmos? I don't know. I would think that behind the scenes there probably is something happening. There are several Reaper users mixing in Atmos, but I don't know for sure. I think you need some sort of third-party encoder. There's probably some sort of like drag and drop tool that you can just drag your waves into. All right, so let's I don't know. Let's take something I mixed a while ago. Been wanting to try out Loop Cloud, but Arcade keeps distracting me. I've used Loop Cloud. I used it fairly heavily a couple years back, or when I first moved here. I was using it all that year, 2020. But yeah, I just kind of forgot about it in a way. Arcade, I haven't looked at all. I think you're going to be happy with Loop Cloud, Arcade, or Splice. Just remember to make those samples your own in a way, so people aren't using the same samples as you and claiming copyright. How do I open ReaSpaghetti? You need the Rea IMG UI extra stuff. So if you go to Repack and Manage Repositories, probably in the ReaTeam extensions, make sure you have that. Possibly this one as well. Here's the report that MixCheck Studio has made about your mixed track. Your track seems a bit wide in stereo field. This could be an artistic choice, however, it is not intentional. Here's a tip on how to ensure your stereo field is balanced. Always check your mono compatibility. Yeah. Make sure you use phase analysis tools. Looks like your mix be too loud to be sent for mastering. I actually don't even remember. Try boosting high frequencies with shelf EQ. So pretty basic stuff. I haven't listened to this track in a long time though. So I mixed this one last summer. ChatGPT question. Yeah, you can't rely on it completely. You do kind of have to have a bit of knowledge of scripting, or a way to error check it, fact check it. So that MIDI workflow that we were figuring out and figured it out on stream finally, there was one condition where it didn't work, which was when I was recording. So when I was recording and I pressed stop or press the space bar, it would continue playing instead of stopping like it's supposed to. So there's two ways around that. One thing was that it wasn't actually checking for playback state correctly. It was only checking if it was on and not caring about if it was recording. And the other thing was that I think I was actually triggering the wrong action. So like if you run the play function twice, it will play and then go back to where you were and play again. And so I was triggering that basic play function instead of stopping the transport, I think. I don't know for sure, but that's fixed now. I still like using ChatGPT for scripting because it gets a lot of the work done kind of automatically. Structuring it, explaining why things work. Sometimes it lies, but you kind of have to get the good with the bad sort of thing. It still gets me started a lot faster than it just trying to do it on my own. So I'm still using it for that. It's a super simple thing. Like it was so close to right here. So there's this, like, is MIDI playback recording this function? It's making up its own name based on earlier stuff in the conversation, but originally it was trying to use Reaper get MIDI play state, which isn't a function that exists. This almost works. Like the get play state is equal to 1 or equal to 4. It doesn't actually do this part. All we need to do is just change this to greater than symbol, greater than 0, I think it was. Xrame gave me the, just check play state greater than 0, and that was what solved it. So I don't think I changed anything else in my script. Get play state, return greater than 0. If it's playing or recording, then stop, set the piano roll thing the way it should be. If it's not playing, if Reaper is stopped, then start playing and set the piano roll the way I want. Pretty basic script. ChatGPT got me this basic structure, the labels and things here. It made the function, the NAMM CTX MIDI piano roll click. I added that myself. I had to look that up. Yeah, but basically, this was right except for this. This should have just been greater than 0. Everything else was right. Why that, if it's equal to 1 or 4, I don't know why that doesn't work. What is my scripting workflow? Coming up with an idea of what I want to do, and then writing out a prompt 3 or 4 times until I can get a start on what I want to do. And sometimes it's just like, it leads me in the right direction. When it does something really wrong, Reaper's IDE will tell me that it's wrong. So I can just type in, error on line 6, whatever. And then it's like, okay, try this. And that usually makes progress. Or sometimes it's like, it makes up something that doesn't exist. Or makes an assumption of how things work. Just, it doesn't have all the information. It doesn't know context. It's a lot like me. I don't have everything. I feel like it's pretty good, and this is, it's only going to get better. And this is still like free. The GPT, what is it? 4 or 5 or whatever is the current paid version, is even better. That seems doable. Why did I never make scripts? John, have you never made scripts? JSFX is probably much harder. Have I seen the new Reaper beta? Do you like the new parallel effects features? I've tried it about 2 weeks ago. I like the stuff in it. I played with it very briefly. I think it's on the way to something really great, but not super great right now. Cool stuff, for sure. John, I'm sure you've tackled scripting before. EEL is probably much harder than Lua. If you can figure out UIs for JSFX plugins, then you'll probably find Lua scripting really easy. That's funny. And yeah, I mean you've always got ChatGPT to help with that stuff. There's no help with JSFX or video processor. Doesn't know what to do for that at all. John Matthews, did you see ReaSpaghetti? Now I wonder if this will be expanded to work with JSFX or something like that. I think this started out as an audio routing tool, but then ended up just being Lua. This thing's very cool. It's early days on it. Only released like 2 days ago, but you can do some crazy stuff. All right, so I just made a script that puts in a marker 1 second after where the edit cursor is. So that's not useful, but you know, it's a thing you can do pretty quickly. What I also need to do is make sure that can I just do like +1? No. I do need to make this a little smarter by count marker, project markers. Get the count project markers, make a loop. Do I need to make a loop? Cursor position is just going to be cursor position. We're going to take the current project marker number and just increase by 1 and add that to float to integer. So there's 5 markers now. No, there's 4 markers. Whatever. So it's a very interesting way of creating scripts. Yeah. As long as you're starting with marker 1, it works. For some reason, I think Reaper 7 is coming in like the next 3 months. I don't know. I mean, it could be the summer. I would feel good if it came out this summer. They're holding off on a few very good features right now. I don't know what they're doing with the theme at this state, and that's usually the first thing that I see them do. The change from 4 to 5 was a pretty big change. It almost seemed sudden. Yep, they just do their own thing, and it'll be out when it's ready. When I saw ReaSpaghetti, I decided to try scripting since I wanted to do some tools for Velocity MIDI powerful, but didn't realize how much work it would be to make a GUI intuitive. Yeah, I have no idea how to do any of that stuff. But yeah, it's been a good stream. Didn't get everything I wanted to do done. But yeah, I'll just have to put in that work offline. I want to get everything organized for the download bundle. It's been a long time since I updated it. I want a good reason for people to join the mailing list. I want it packed with good things that are still useful, and there's some things in there that are like, I don't know, 8 years old. So at some point, I gotta update that. I also have a guitar plugin from John Matthews I need to test today. So maybe I'll do that next. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week, possibly with a new video, definitely with a stream recap and another live stream on Friday. Thank you so much.